No, no, no. From the very beginning, it was quite clear that they had, and they said this, and this was the first stance that Hassan al-Banna, when he created the movement, was saying, it's non-violent, we are using all the legal means in Israel, at that time it was in Palestine, because we are facing Irgun that are killing people and innocent people, is right to get an armed resistance to terrorism done by Irgun and Stern. This was a very specific situation in Palestine, and he was differentiating between what we can do in Egypt and the way we resist in Palestine. This is the first. And second, when some of the people and one individual started to kill people in Egypt, he said, no, you are not among us. This is not our way to deal with Egypt. We are a non-violent movement. So this was said from the very beginning, but it was also clear that resistance to armed repression means that you can use weapons and you can protect yourself. So this is the Muslim Brotherhood within. What now it's important for us is to say that over the last 60 years, the Muslim Brotherhood went through different stages because they were anti-colonialist, and they were non-violent and legalist. And then they got the repression after 52 by Nasser. He put them in jail and he killed the leaders. And then there was some of them left even the Muslim Brotherhood by saying it's Islamically right to kill the tyrant. So they left, and we have a division. So even now, beyond the people who left the Muslim Brotherhood, you have a generation gap between the first generation and the young generation.
So, of course, when there are these gaps, very easy for foreign agencies and forces to then make these divisions even clearer in what will be a new young state. I mean, I'm thinking about Lebanon. Could we, in your opinion, be looking at an Egypt that's as uncomfortable with itself, has that friction inside it that Lebanon always has, that will just rumble along uncomfortably in the future?
Anyway, it will, a state of instability, a transitory period, is normal. This is what we will get from, you know, a dictatorship after 30 years and what could happen in our way towards a democratic process. But Lebanon is not the Egypt because of, you know, many historical reasons and the different religions and the way it was built, the way even Lebanon was built and thought at the very beginning. Egypt is a very long tradition of people living together. In Midan al-Tahrir, what was very important is Muslims, Coptic, atheists, agnostic together saying no in the name of our country. And if you listen to what they were saying, they were never targeting the West. They were never targeting, you know, America. They were saying we want our country to be free. We want independence. So it's really much something which is a nationalist movement trying to get freedom. And from within, what is important now, and this is what I have been saying for days, but before this for years, you cannot, you know, end up blaming the West of using dictators if the opposition and the forces and the opposing forces in Egypt are not able to come together. They knew that they didn't want Mubarak. What we want them to tell us now, what do they want in the future? Because the American administration is not going to look at them and wait for them to decide. So
obviously a period of transition with a great deal of external interest, because let's be clear here, to America and to Israel, Egypt has been a linchpin of the Middle East. 80 million Arabs, a large Muslim population, behaving themselves, you know, accepting treaties with Egypt. Let's look now at that border a bit closely, because the 1979 peace treaty contained this pledge. I'm going to read it to you now from Carter to Menachem Begin. In the event of an actual or threatened violation of the Treaty of Peace between Israel and Egypt, the United States will, on request of one or both of the parties, take such action as it may deem appropriate to achieve compliance with the treaty. Not a great deal of wriggle room, even for a new government, is there?
Exactly, I think you're right, and this is why the first thing that the army said is that we are going to abide by this, you know, contract and this agreement from the very beginning. I think that we have to be clear on this. Why the state of Israel doesn't want anything which has to do with true democracy around it. Why? Because all the people, the Egyptians, were against, for example, what Mubarak did just after the Gaza massacre. It's just to close the borders and to say there is no connection. And so the betrayal of the Palestinians is something which we know coming from the Arab countries. So many people and many Arabs are always saying, oh, you know what, the source of all our problems is the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I'm saying the opposite is the consequence of all these problems, that you don't have people and governments standing for the rights of the Palestinians and even for the rights of their people. No, the Egyptian, the great majority, they were just against anything which has to do with the Mubarak agreement with the states and with Israel, to protect Israel in such a way and not to react. Even what we know is that Mubarak knew before it happened that Israel was going to attack Gaza. What's that? And this is where, when you have now the only claimed democracy in the region, Israel, telling us and telling Washington, you have to support Mubarak because this is the only way for security and stability. We have to respond to this by saying, you will never be in security if around you, you are only having peace with dictators. This is a very short-sighted perception of the reality. On the long run, what you need is people around you. You make peace with people, not with tyrants.
How much a threat do you perceive to Egypt from outside military forces? If they do, in this new transitional government, say, you know, we're going to look at the gas deal that we've got that gives Israel virtually complementary gas. We're going to look at the Philadelphia corridor, which is at the Rafah crossing, which is a really compacted, dangerous piece of territorial land for Israel. We're going to look at these things. The US has already sent warships in that direction. Israel's already made noises. Don't mess with us. I mean, these are people already under threat, aren't they? And they're still in transition.
Yes, but, you know, and this is why I think that we have to be very cautious with our assessment of the situation. I don't think, you know, this is also what I said just before even the Egyptian revolution, by saying, who is going to let Egypt be completely independent and free? What we see now is that the army which is taking over is completely connected in very close links between the army and the Americans. So all these treaties and you know, agreements and contracts, even the transnational corporation that we have there, are going to protect their interests. So I don't see now anything that could just, you know, I was hopeful and still is, but I'm not naive on this. I think that what the American administration is doing now and European countries is just to protect all this agreement, to secure, you know, the Israeli interests. And I think that this is why now we have new voices coming from Israel saying, oh, that's good, that's fine, go ahead with, and we are happy for the Egyptian people, while at the beginning they were not.